In addition to Trump's visit to the Middle East in recent days, there is another big news. A senior advisor of Iran said that Iran is prepared to sign a conditional peace agreement with the Trump administration in order to get the United States to lift economic sanctions. Iran has promised never to manufacture nuclear weapons, destroy all stockpiles of highly enriched uranium that can be used to make weapons, only enrich uranium to the low levels required for civilian use in the future, and also agreed to let international inspectors supervise the entire process, hoping that the United States will immediately lift all economic sanctions against Iran. As soon as this news came out, netizens were outraged. The comment sections of major news outlets were flooded with criticism. Many said that Iran was capitulating and being extremely foolish. They even cited the example of Ukraine, warning that Iran must not give up its nuclear weapons. Even if the United States is willing to sign an agreement, it definitely cannot be trusted. Why? In the international community, the ability to fulfill an agreement depends on who has the power and the means. If Iran gives up its nuclear manufacturing capabilities today and destroys all its highly enriched uranium, and the United States reneges on its promise tomorrow and deals with Iran the way it dealt with Iraq and Ukraine, Iran will be in big trouble. Is it possible to take the agreement to the United Nations for arbitration? It's completely useless. As the saying goes, when the other side suspects that you have weapons of mass destruction, it's best if you actually do. Therefore, many people think that Iran is backing down, and compromise will never lead to good results. But if we think calmly, we all understand these principles. Don't the Iranians, especially the Iranian high-level officials, know this? They surely do, but there's no other way. Some things, even if you know the outcome will be bad, and you've made a lot of efforts, they will still happen. Just like Iran, knowing that compromising with the United States may be risky, it has still come to this. Iran is a well-known medium-sized and regional power in the world, with a long history. It has been very active on the contemporary international stage and has been at odds with the United States and Israel for 46 years. It's been incredibly tenacious. However, judged by Chinese standards, Iran's internal governance is a complete mess, and it has made one diplomatic blunder after another. It's like having a great hand of cards but playing them extremely poorly, making one feel sorry for its plight and angry at its failures. Take what happened on May 8 as an example. Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi visited India from May 8 to 9 and signed the all-weather strategic partnership agreement with Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar during this period. But let's not forget that on May 7, India provoked a military conflict with Pakistan, and Pakistan shot down 5 Indian fighter jets using +15 missiles. At this time, the two countries were in the heat of battle. As Pakistan's neighbor, Iran actually sided with India. We all know that China and Pakistan are ironclad allies. In 2014, the China-Pakistan relationship was defined as an all-weather strategic partnership. So what does it mean for Iran to suddenly establish an all-weather strategic partnership with India at this time? We often say that small and medium-sized countries are allowed to be fickle in the game among major powers, siding with whoever is more powerful at the moment. But after Pakistan's 5-0 victory over India in the air battle on May 7, Iran still chose the wrong side. Its diplomatic maneuvers and alignment decisions are truly disappointing. Not only this, recently Iran has also sent signals of seeking peace with the United States, expressing its willingness to reach a conditional peace agreement. This seems like a concession and compromise no matter how you look at it. I feel that over the past decade, Iran's stance on the nuclear issue has indeed retreated a great deal. Qani, the political advisor of Iran's supreme leader Khamenei, said that if the United States lifts all sanctions, Iran will promise never to develop nuclear weapons, destroy its stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, limit uranium enrichment to civilian levels, that is, below 3.67%, and also accept comprehensive verification by the International Atomic Energy Agency. Think about it, in 2015, Iran's uranium enrichment was limited to 5%. This year, Iran voluntarily reduced it to 3.67%. This is a significant concession. Also, regarding the number of centrifuges, the 2015 Iran nuclear deal stipulated that the number of Iran's centrifuges should be reduced from 19,000 to 6,104. This year, Iran only requests to retain 5,000 centrifuges, and it may have to make further concessions because the United States demands that it be controlled below 1,000. From these parameters, we can see that although Iran has endured over the past 10 years, its negotiation conditions are now worse than before. Moreover, Iran's eagerness for peace is too obvious. Trump is a master of extreme pressure, exertion, and will definitely seize the opportunity to drive a hard bargain. According to Chinese standards, Iran does seem to be on the verge of capitulating, especially when it is so close to achieving nuclear capabilities. Iran currently has 165 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium. Fortunately, the agreement has not been reached yet, and the United States has not agreed either. So Iran has not completely given in. But I'm really worried about Iran. If Iran dismantles its centrifuges and hands over or dilutes its highly enriched uranium, and the United States then claims that the inspections are not up to standard, or suddenly reneges on its promise under pressure from Israel, what will Iran do? Iran is indeed in a difficult situation now. First of all, economically, it has been severely sanctioned by the United States. In 2023, Iran's GDP was only $401.5 billion, while it was $629 billion in 2010 and $489.1 billion in 2017. Iran is now experiencing an economic crisis, with an inflation rate of over 40%. At the beginning of the year, $1 could be exchanged for 500,000 or 600,000 rials on the black market, but last month it dropped to 1 million to 1.1 million rials. The currency has depreciated too severely. Politically, Iran also faces huge difficulties. Russia, Iran's biggest backer, is bogged down in the Russia-Ukraine conflict and unable to spare much support. The Shiite-dominated regime in Syria has been overthrown. Hezbollah in Lebanon was severely hit last year, and Hamas is now in a precarious situation. Only the Houthi forces have performed relatively well. Looking at Iran's domestic situation, it's in chaos, with various forces surging beneath the surface. Iran's political landscape is dominated by three powerful factions: the feudal clerical clique led by Khamenei, the Revolutionary Guards IRGC that control the country's security apparatus, and the executive government. The clerical establishment and its loyal IRGC form the core of Iran's entrenched elite. As is well known, when militaries engage in commercial activities, systemic corruption follows. The IRGC not only runs businesses but also dominates Iran's economic lifelines, evading taxes and engaging in smuggling to amass wealth. Their greed has incentivized other institutions to follow suit, turning Iran into a nation riddled with corruption from top to bottom. The precise assassination of Qasem Soleimani, frequent targeted killings of nuclear scientists, and the suffering of Hamas and Hezbollah all stem from this rot. In November 2024, a massive insider betrayal laid bare the depth of Iran's problems. Brigadier General Ismail Qani, former deputy to Soleimani and once hailed as a paragon of loyalty within the IRGC's Quds force, had spent a decade leaking core secrets to US and Israeli intelligence for $21 million. His treachery led to the assassination of numerous Iranian officials, scientists, and key members of Hamas and Hezbollah. This wasn't a lone incident, but a symptom of a regime rotten to its foundations. Even top-tier leaders were compromised. Iran's government has oscillated wildly in policy. In 2013, reformist President Rouhani took office, vowing to control inflation and mend ties with the West. His Iran nuclear deal with Obama was short-lived. Trump tore up the agreement in 2017, intensifying sanctions and plunging Iran back into crisis. Ebrahim Raisi, seen as Khamenei's heir, shifted focus eastward, strengthening ties with China and Russia and bolstering Shiite allies. Under his tenure, Iran signed a 25-year, $400 billion cooperation deal with China and reconciled with Saudi Arabia. But Raisi's sudden and mysterious death in a plane crash on May 20, 2024, paved the way for a new reformist president who immediately tilted toward the West, even blaming China for allegedly failing to fulfill the $400 billion agreement. This desperate pivot first to the US, then to India reflects chaotic leadership. Why has the China-Iran deal stagnated? The agreement, which trades oil for Chinese investment, threatens the IRGC's economic stranglehold. With the guards controlling key industries, they've sabotaged its implementation. Iran's internal pro-US faction, nostalgic for the pre-1979 era of Western-aligned prosperity, refuses to acknowledge that US sanctions, not internal policies, drive Iran's misery. As economic hardship grows, these factions gain momentum, advocating compromise with America despite the risks. Iran's timing for surrender is as disastrous as historical missteps, seeking to become a eunuch in 1911 as the Qing dynasty collapsed, aligning with Japan in July 1945 months before its defeat, or backing the Kuomintang in September 1949 weeks before China's communist victory. Its political instincts are akin to Italy's in World War II, switching sides to late and suffering consequences. While China embraced globalization in 1979, Iran chose confrontation with the US and religious orthodoxy. Now, as America's power wanes, Iran may squander its opportunity by capitulating at the worst possible moment. China has wisely maintained vigilance toward Iran. While opposing US hegemony, China hasn't banked on Tehran's stability, recognizing that true resistance to imperialism relies on self-reliance. Unlike Iran, a pragmatic power would use sanctions relief to reform and rebuild, but Iran's fractured politics and corruption make such renewal unlikely. Whether it submits to the US or not, Iran's fate hinges on fixing its broken governance. For now, the world can only watch as Iran's gamble unfolds. Will surrender bring relief, or deeper crisis?